Coming up on 2020 on ID, a husband and father of 5, heir to a fortune.
He wanted to be the best Christian and the best father and the best husband.
Vanished.
The rental car was abandoned. His wallet was found in an area where junkies would throw trash.
I remember screaming that I wanted him back.
Was it amnesia, kidnapping, or something even more sinister?
She says, "Oh my God, the Antichrist has returned."
Into thin air. And a high school senior who went from leading cheers to leading the news.
Caitlin Hunt and her teen sex case.
Sex scandal.
Locked up, all because of a high school romance with another girl who was just 14.
I'm supposed to take care of her. This is my baby.
Was she an innocent teen in love?
My daughter is in jail for having a high school girlfriend.
Or a sexual predator?
Our daughter didn't want to be in this relationship.
Out of bounds. Welcome to 2020 on ID. I'm John Quinones. What happens when society's expectations and our own don't match? And why do some people hide their true selves while others embrace it, even flaunt it? Coming up, 2 people with one thing in common, but very different ways of dealing with it. First, a successful family man who one day simply vanished. It's a mystery that involved a death certificate, an insurance policy, and a family fortune. But as Deborah Roberts first reported in 2013, when it was finally solved 16 years later, the truth of what happened would hardly soothe this family's heartache.
Most people grow up thinking that magic is an illusion and that people can't disappear. And I grew up in a reality where people do disappear.
It's easy to assume that under the unblinking Arizona sun, no secret can stay hidden from the light of day. But on the morning of June 25, 1991, when Eric Myers left home for work, he stepped right into a mystery that would haunt his family for years.
How could this guy just vanish?
That's the question. Do people just vanish without a trace?
Robert Anglin is an investigative reporter for the Arizona Republic.
In this case, that's what appears to have happened. A healthy, successful American man with a wife and kids fell off the face of the earth.
Our story begins with a one-way trip. Eric departs from the Phoenix airport, headed for a business conference in San Diego. But days later, he's MIA. His daughter, Kirsten, just 8 years old at the time, can't comprehend why Daddy disappeared.
I think probably because of my age, I think it's safe to say I took it the hardest. I was just really sad.
Did you cry yourself to sleep? Did you?
Every night, I remember screaming that I wanted him back. Every night for weeks.
Eric's parents, especially his mom, Joanne, are dumbfounded.
You know you have to keep going for your other children and you have to survive, and it was very hard. It's very hard.
Eric Myers did not appear to be a magnet for trouble. A handsome real estate manager, he and wife Ann were the picture of success. 5 children, 2 homes, 5 cars, including a classic Alfa Romeo.
Eric appeared to have it all and loved it. Everybody who knew him thought that he was living the dream, living the American dream.
And money was no concern. Eric was an heir to his father's booming real estate business.
He had every advantage, the best schools, the best neighborhoods, the best toys.
And he was a fundamentalist Christian who seemingly defined the term family values.
He became very religious, so the church became a critical point in his life.
Eric always really wanted to do the right thing. He wanted to be the best Christian and the best father and the best husband.
So police in 2 states began investigating. But remember, it's the early 90s. With Madonna ruling the charts, the smartphone's a thing of future, and no social media or GPS help track missed people.
What did they find out in those first few days of investigation?
The rental car was abandoned. It was found in a seedy part of San Diego. His wallet was found in an area where junkies would throw trash. And then A month after he disappeared, these 3 canceled checks surfaced.
Was Eric Myers murdered in a random mugging? Or perhaps the real estate heir had been targeted for kidnapping?
They find out that he checked out of his hotel on the first day of the conference, but continued going. But nobody knows where he is. Nobody knows where he went.
Police also consider an outlandish theory.
The story goes that Eric at some point had rescued a woman from a violent biker gang who was trying to flee that subculture, and he had taken her in and given her shelter, and that the bikers had threatened his life.
Those leads all turn into dead ends, and the case goes cold. Meanwhile, Eric Myers' family is in tatters.
And was there any consoling? Was there anything?
Oh, yeah. I mean, my mom did everything she could. But what was she going to do other than just hold me and tell me that it was going to be okay?
Weeks dissolve into months, then years, with no sign of Daddy. So Anne and her kids are forced to move on, celebrating birthdays, proms, graduations, all without Eric. Anne Myers declined our request for an interview, but once spoke with Robert Anglin.
This case is as cold as ice. Anne Myers is moving through her career. The family never holds a memorial service for Eric, but they do have him declared legally dead.
With no body, no funeral, nothing except a death certificate to mark his passing, Eric Myers' life comes to an unceremonious close on June 30th, 1996. His family cashes out an insurance policy worth close to $1 million. But now when there should finally be closure, there's not. Troubling questions remain.
Anne never believed he was dead in the beginning, but as the years passed, what she told me was she wanted him to be dead. She wanted him to be dead, and she wanted him to die unmourned, unloved, and unsung.
And as time went on,
I stopped crying.
did you assume that he died? What did you think?
No. The only logical conclusion that I could come to was, you know, it's a lot easier to find a dead body than it is to find a living one. And if a living body doesn't want to be found, then it means it doesn't want to be here.
Could it really be that Eric Myers wasn't murdered after all? That he'd simply walked out on his wife, kids, and parents? And if so, why? It would take time, a trip to Mexico, and this nude model to explain it all.
It sounds like he pulled off the Great Escape Act of the century.
Yeah, he pulled off the Great Escape.
Stay with us. Kirsten Myers-Ruggiano was just 8 years old when her father, Eric, a devout Christian and heir to a real estate fortune, disappeared without a trace. For years, she blamed herself.
So as you grew older, did you just feel that Dad just doesn't want to be with us? He left us?
Yeah. Maybe I wasn't a good enough kid.
With no father, she says her mother, Anne, became her world.
My mother is one of the most selfless people I've ever met. If either my sister or I called her and said, I need you here now, she would absolutely drop everything to be by our side as soon as she needed to.
While Anne was stitching together her frayed family, a much different scene was playing out nearly 1,000 miles south, in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. With its warm sand and cold, colorful drinks, it's a great getaway, or escape. And it was just that for a newcomer who called himself Roberto. He took odd jobs as a bouncer, a physical trainer with no ID required. No one got close enough to know who he was or why he was there. But Roberto was actually Eric Myers.
He says he's poverty-stricken. He doesn't know where his next meal is going to come from. It's very dramatic.
The Mexican getaway goes on for 4 months without one phone call home. Then Roberto heads back stateside, not to Phoenix, but to swinging Palm Springs, California, Hollywood's ritzy death playground. Everyone from Rat Pack to Elvis to Barbra Streisand have had homes here. But why would a poverty-stricken Eric, now calling himself Robert, land in such an expensive spot? For the first time on camera, Eric Myers explains his bizarre odyssey.
I just wanted it all to end. I wanted everything to end.
He says it's a story of pain that came to a head during that business trip in San Diego.
You get to San Diego and you check into the hotel. What do you remember about the hotel?
I don't remember even checking in. I don't recall checking into any hotel, let alone the one I did, and I don't remember checking out.
Some would say maybe you choose not to remember because you don't have to answer to anything.
And I'd say it'd be much better for me to have my whole story spelled out than have these gaps. I'm answering honestly that I have gaps.
What he does remember, he says, is that one night after a seminar, he was robbed by two men and left in a state of shock.
So they took your cash?
Well, they took my wallet, so whatever's in my wallet they got.
So some people would go running into the hotel or go running to someone else or go, I've got to go call the police, I was just mugged.
Well, yes, but I did go call the police. I make the phone call and I'm put on hold. I'm put on hold for an inordinate long period of time.
Eric says he suffered an emotional breakdown.
At whatever point I gave up, I took the phone and I beat the crap out of the phone, just in anger. But I'm also having this massive amount of shakes. Everybody breaks at some point. You've maybe never broken, but I'm sure that if enough things happened, you'd break. Well, I didn't know what my breaking point was. Apparently, I reached it.
And that's when things headed south, literally, to Cabo.
I just had to get away. You know, I'm going through justification things along the way because I'm sitting there saying, you can do this and still go back.
I wondered about him. I wondered if he'd ever come back. And at some point, it became clear to me that he was never coming back. And that I needed to just move on.
How much are you thinking about your kids?
I would try not to dwell or think down that road because that would just take me into a very dark place. And again, this isn't a justification.
But isn't that a selfish way to look at it? I mean, you're thinking about
horrible.
yourself and shutting down, and you've got children who are crying themselves to sleep, wondering what happened to their dad?
I cannot say anything to deny that it is the most selfish thing in the world. And I will never be painted as a saint. But no one is all good, and no one's all bad.
If he wasn't thinking about his kids, what was he thinking about? It was this man, Sean Long.
We were both alone. We felt alone, and we kind of connected because of that. And it was instant.
You see, Eric wasn't just hiding out, he was coming out.
At 6 years old, I knew I was attracted, drawn very heavily to other people my same sex.
That's right, the once straight-laced evangelical family man is gay, something that has tortured him since adolescence.
That was when I started thinking, this isn't right. You know, I want to be with men. And so I'm assuming it's right around mid-12 to mid-13. I had 3 different suicide events.
He says he considered taking his life, once with a gun, another time perched on the edge of a cliff.
I'm on that cliff, just like that. I'm looking at that gun, just like that. And I think I'll go to my grave that way. I've let go of being ashamed and that there's anything wrong with it. But remembering the pain brings it back like it was yesterday. Yesterday I was on the cliff.
So young Eric joined an evangelical church, trying to pray it all away.
You were trying to
get rid of Satan. I thought I was possessed.
Did you pretend to have an interest in girls?
So what I think is if I have a girlfriend, I'll feel what I'm supposed to feel. If I have a girlfriend, things will happen in the proper course of events and everything will be how it should be.
When that didn't work, he hoped marrying his friend Ann would help.
I wanted to do all the things that are right. And if you do all the things and jump through all the hoops, you'll eventually become a basketball.
So you wanted to be a husband and a father and have the happy home.
I wanted to do what God wanted me to do. And that my perception of what God wanted me to do was what everybody else said God wants you to do.
They started a family. From the outside looking in, they were the definition of perfection.
Did you feel like a happy dad?
I was a thrilled dad. The word thrilled would not be an understatement.
But it wasn't enough. It was only when he ran away from that family and met Sean, a Canadian tourist, that Eric says he finally felt right.
I remember thinking that I'm not going to be with Sean that long, but at a 2-week point of our being together, I turned around and said to him, I think I'm falling in love with you.
And Palm Springs, with its sunny, gay lifestyle, was the perfect place for that love to flourish. When Sean develops an interest in photography, Eric even poses nude for him, images later exhibited at a local art gallery. But while he was bearing all for the cameras, it would take a while for him to reveal his most private parts, for Sean to learn the truth about his new love, Eric Myers.
Did he come across as a guy who was on the run, who had ditched his family?
Not at all. No.
He didn't talk about his children. He didn't talk about his mother or father.
I guess he never volunteered that information because I told him one time, I don't really need to know where you're from. I'm more concerned about where we're heading or where we are right now.
But to others, Eric told a different story.
What did you say along the way if people ask you where you were from or if it came up about a family? What did you ever say to people if it came up?
The worst thing I did on that is I came up with a scenario that would make people not ask any more questions.
So you told people that your family had died?
It was all gone. So once you say that, nobody asks any more questions about your family.
His family, however, was very much alive, and Eric's daughter, still grieving the loss of her father, was hurting.
How did you deal with the sadness? How did you cope with those feelings?
Badly. I think I was 11 when I first started stealing wine and realized that it made me feel less sad. And then I think that was the beginning of experimenting with self-medicating behavior.
Kirsten says she struggled with addictions for years and thanks to her mom, sobered up and began building a new life. Meantime, her father is building a new life with that new love, Sean. The years roll by with two worlds unfolding. Eric's now finding comfort in his gay life. Sean now knows him as a man of many secrets, but accepts him anyway. They move to Vancouver, Canada, where Eric creates yet another alias, calling himself Chaz, even claiming to have a PhD from Princeton.
Why did you do that?
Well, I definitely believed that I knew how to market. And so I wanted the credentials, which wouldn't be checked out very well. And in fact, in Princeton, they don't have a marketing degree.
While Eric is living a lofty Ivy League fraud, his former family has a lowly reality back in the desert. Remember, they've declared Eric legally dead and are trying to put their grief behind them. But Ann Myers has no clue that a grenade is about to blow her world apart.
She says that her first reaction was, oh my God, the Antichrist has returned. He got away clean, but he came back and destroyed everybody's life in the process.
He is a sick, psychotic person who has only ever acted for himself.
Stay with us.
Eric Myers has spent more than a decade in hiding, his whereabouts unknown, his family devastated. Now he's about to return, but there's still one question remaining. How will the loved ones he left behind react? Once again, Deborah Roberts.
16 years after escaping from, or some might say abandoning his former life as a married father of 5, Eric Myers decides to come back from the dead.
There was never any plan to come back, just like there was never any plan to leave, and it just happened.
He reaches out to an old friend who eventually arranges a meeting between Eric and the one person likely to forgive him anything, his mother.
I think we shared an energy of love that forgave everything like that. Just that. It was all gone. My mother and I were past it with one hug.
A lot of people lose children, but they don't get them back, you know. I can think of nothing but gratitude about the whole thing.
Today, Eric is reconnected to his brothers and sisters, most of whom have accepted him back without skipping a beat.
I think of the picture we took. The first Christmas card we sent after he came back was our 5 kids. And every friend wrote back and said, that says it all.
But his former wife, Ann, didn't roll out the red carpet.
Her first reaction was, oh my God, the Antichrist has returned.
Eric's resurrection dealt a seismic blow to his family and kids, especially Kirsten, now a mom of 2 who'd finally found happiness and peace in her life.
When he came back from the dead, what was your overriding emotion?
Disbelief. It almost hurt more to have him come back than it did for him to go in the first place.
What hurts most? Discovering that you were abandoned by your dad, or that he is gay?
I don't care that he's gay. If he was, you know, a normal person, it wouldn't make any difference. It bothers me that he thinks that being gay is an excuse to abandon your family. That's what bothers me.
She says the heartbroken little girl captured in an old family photo still haunts her.
And when I saw the picture of me as a child, it was really bizarre. I wanted to hug her, and I wanted to tell her that it would be okay. I wanted to save her, even though it was me.
Do I acknowledge that I hurt people? Amen. Am I sorry for hurting people? Amen, amen, amen. I never wanted to hurt anyone. Was I under so much pain that I couldn't stand it anymore? Amen. I selfishly had to stop my pain.
But why come back now and risk opening old wounds? Eric points out that he and Sean moved in with his elderly parents, caring for his father in the last few years of his life. Yet some wondered if he was motivated not by love, but by dollar signs, millions of them.
It's not for money, it's not for inheritance, it's for healing. I mean, there's a lot of pain and suffering having to do with all my coming back, but it's all been for healing, and the majority of people have healed.
But certainly not Kirsten, who's only glimpsed her father once in person since he returned. They've never spoken.
Do you ever envision anywhere, years from now, that you might want to sit down with your dad and understand anything?
There's nothing he can say. He's not even a real person.
And the big question remains, was Eric's original disappearance all part of a master plan?
Were you fantasizing at all about leaving, getting out of here, escaping your life?
I say that as God is my witness, never once.
But the insurance company that paid out Eric's death benefit doesn't buy it. With Eric still alive, Liberty Life Insurance is suing the Myers family.
They're saying he committed fraud. They're saying he disappeared knowing that his daughters would be provided for through a death benefit.
Robert Englund uncovered this explosive story while digging through court records. The Myers family trauma made headlines. Liberty Life wants back its $800,000 paid to Kirsten and her sister, plus interest. But who should pay? Eric's ex-wife Ann and his daughters say he should, but he says there's no legal obligation.
My life insurance policy wasn't mine very quickly after I left. A conservator was named after I disappeared.
He says that conservator, his father, made decisions that take him out of the equation. It's a messy family squabble. But despite the painful consequences, Eric insists he made the right decision to return.
Have you accomplished what you wanted to by coming back from the dead?
Yes and no. No, it's not how I wished it had happened, but I'm okay with how it happened. But did I do the right thing? I think totally. Did I do the selfless thing to subject myself to whatever may fall my way? Yes, I think I did the right thing. To live in a disguise is a horrible prison. And then to take the disguise off, it might hurt some people. But did you do it to hurt people, or did you do it to be true? And once they see that disguise off, yeah, it's their choice to like it or hate it.
His daughter has clearly made her choice.
It's insulting to all the gay people that I know and love for him to say, well, I did it because I was gay. I know a lot of people who would never do this and absolutely never blame it on their homosexuality. I don't believe that he's capable of love.
Toward anyone.
Towards anyone but himself.
As of 2015, Eric Myers reports he still has no contact with either Kirsten or Aaron. He and Sean Lung are now married and are back living in Palm Springs. He says his mother, Joanne, visits them often. Liberty Life Insurance won its lawsuit against Eric Myers, his two daughters, and his father's estate. They were ordered to pay a total of $870,000. When we come back, a high school romance. But what would land one young lover behind bars?
A criminal relationship never crossed my mind once.
But it crossed the minds of these parents.
I think Caitlin Hunt forced our daughter to stay in this relationship.
A showdown between teen love and the law. When we come back. Many of us remember our first serious romance, but few of us ever face prison time because of it. Still, for one high school senior, that's exactly what happened. As Matt Gutman first told us in 2013, this story of forbidden love exploded in a face-off between two families and pitted a teenager against the strong arm of the law.
On Florida's Treasure Coast, Sebastian River High, home of the Sharks. Can't hide that shark pride, they say. But what was in that teenage shark tank called high school? No one is proud of. A sex scandal. Felonious love.
Caitlin Hunt and her teen sex case.
Sex scandal.
Lewd and lascivious battery of a child.
Caitlin Hunt was a senior whose crush turned into a crime. Her love improbably landing her in lockup here at the Indian River County Jail.
A criminal relationship never crossed my mind once.
Hunt was an honor student, a choir girl.
I wanna sing, I wanna shout, I wanna scream so loud.
And the team you see tossed in the air by her fellow cheerleaders here was also voted most school spirit. Possessed of a big heart.
It's cute, but it's a video.
Ripe for love.
We had lunch together. We just started hanging out a lot in school and talking.
The cheerleader fell for the jock. At first, just stealing kisses, and then sex in the school bathroom.
I would say we had a really close relationship. We told each other everything.
Although Caitlin was 18 at the time, the person she had sex with was just 14. It gets much more complicated because this is not a classic Romeo and Juliet story. It's a Juliet and Juliet story. The person 18-year-old Caitlin Hunt says she loved and had sex with was a 14-year-old girl.
The homosexuality aspect of it was involved. When you have somewhat of a spiritual community, a lot of churches, and a lot of very conservative people, to be quite frank with you, when that type of liberal activity comes to a community, it's the talk of the town.
She was real funny. She was that person you could go to if you had a bad day. She could cheer you up in like 5 minutes. She was just, around like a good girl.
Caitlin's mother, Kelly, says she knew her daughter was in a same-sex relationship, but didn't realize the other girl was so young.
And did you meet the girlfriend?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What did you think of her?
He was a sweetheart. She was very sweet.
Did it ever dawn on you that the difference in age might be a dangerous thing?
I didn't know the girl was 14. I had no idea she was a freshman. She looks older than my daughter.
Something else she said she didn't know, the younger girl referred to in court documents as CS ran away from home one night and had a sleepover with Caitlin in her home. Eventually, it was a coach who revealed the relationship to the younger girl's parents. The next day, they and their 14-year-old daughter were in the sheriff's office.
Their feeling was that the relationship was unhealthy and inappropriate based upon the age of the parties.
Crimes Against Children detective Jeremy Shepard set a trap in the younger girl as bait.
Tell me how you decided to do this controlled phone call with the victim.
That is a procedure that we often use in cases like this in order to get the victim to get a confession from the suspect for us.
Like, you're my first person I ever had sex with, like, so I mean, like, that's an attachment, you know? Like, does that mean anything to you?
Obviously, it means something to me.
This is where sweet love soured. In the state of Florida, even consensual sex between an 18-year-old and a 14-year-old is illegal. Caitlin was arrested.
They had her in handcuffs in the driveway.
Into a police cruiser. What's going through mind?
I don't even know. Just I was so shocked. I was scared to death because she was so scared to death.
I'm Detective Shepard with the Sheriff's Office.
In an interrogation room, Caitlin is questioned, asked about intimate details most people would want to discuss with their best friend, much less a police officer.
Would you say the first time y'all had sex was before Christmas or after Christmas?
After.
Okay.
We met Kate at the Indian River County Jail for her first interview. We expected to meet a bubbly teenager, but after 2 months in lock, the high-spirited girl was gone. This Caitlin appeared stunned, nearly speechless, a bit bewildered by the whirlwind that landed her here.
So you literally didn't know that it was that you were breaking the law?
No, I didn't know. I wouldn't have continued if I really knew the laws were, and if I knew what I was getting myself into.
Assistant State Attorney Brian Workman charged Caitlin with 2 counts of lewd or lascivious battery. Those are felonies.
I don't think that either one of these girls thought that anything that they did was wrong.
I understand Caitlin is 18. I'm well aware that he's 18, but in no way, shape, or form, that child and adult.
After her, Caitlin was released on bail. The judge set a condition: she could not contact her young girlfriend. The peppy cheerleader and choir girl who dreamed of studying nursing was now facing serious criminal repercussions for her forbidden romance. A possible criminal record, registering as a sex offender and going to prison for a maximum of 30 years.
Voted most schools hear it?
Yeah.
And then you're in jail.
I know. It's like something you think you would never go through. I feel like my senior year was like ruined.
Did she ever tell you about her sexuality?
Not out lately, not like, hey, I'm gay, or hey, I'm a lesbian, hey, I'm bisexual. We had that conversation.
Her mother claiming the prosecutor and the younger girl's family were motivated in part by an anti-gay bias. On Facebook, she aired her daughter's Shakespearean lament, writing of the younger girl's parents. They were out to destroy my daughter. I feel like my daughter made their daughter gay. The family then came up with this line: "Stop the hate, free Kate."
I needed somebody to know what was going on, and for someone else to say, you were right. Like, this is absolutely crazy wrong.
Gay rights activists and others grabbed this digital gauntlet and rallied behind Caitlin and her family. Supporters donated tens of thousands of dollars. A petition against the prosecution got more than 300,000 signatures online. And in June 2013, Caitlin flew to New York to march in the world's largest annual gay pride parade.
What does it feel like to, in some ways, become this icon of the gay community?
It's pretty awesome because, the support from that community is just overwhelming, but nice at the same time.
I'm scared of losing my life, the rest of my life, not being able to go to college and be around kids and my sisters and my family.
Caitlin were Kyle. How different would this be?
My honest opinion is it would not be an issue.
Do you think CS's parents would have gone to the police had they not believed he was in a gay relationship?
I believe they would have gone to the police anytime they found out that an adult was having sex with their child, particularly school.
An adult who was in high school with her.
She's an adult.
Basketball team, cheerleading.
She is an adult. Florida has a mandatory reporting law, and if they had not reported, they've been committing a crime.
Even so, the prosecutor offered Caitlin a plea deal. It included no jail time. She rejected the offer, insisting she did nothing wrong. She wanted a trial to prove her innocence.
Tell me what you were fighting for.
Equality, justice.
But then, a shocking reversal. 20,000 reasons, Caitlin Hunt landed right back in jail. Parents thrown into a tailspin over a phone call from their daughter. Behind bars and desperate.
Just hang in there. Just calm down.
And what about the other parents? We'll hear how they suffered and their surprising views about the relationship that became a crime. Stay with us. Free Kate became the nationwide rallying cry for Caitlin Hunt's army of supporters.
There has been a massive campaign all week on her behalf.
The Pepe, Florida high school senior, had been arrested for having a sexual relationship with a 9th grader, a 14-year-old girl.
Did you love her?
Yeah, I loved her a lot. I was like my best friend too, you know.
Serious jail time because of her sexual relationship.
Charged with having sex with a 14-year-old female classmate.
She's not a predator. She's not a pedophile. She's this beautiful, smart, talented girl.
Caitlin Hunt's family and supporters complained loudly that anti-gay bigotry was driving the prosecution, bias on the part of the state and the younger girl's parents. Those supposedly bigoted, biased parents, him and Laura Smith.
She definitely took our daughter's innocence away in a way that should not have been done.
They were informed their daughter was involved with an 18-year-old. They say they don't even remember being told it was an 18-year-old girl.
18. Daughter's only 14. She's not allowed to date yet. I knew that daughter wasn't emotionally mature enough for any 18-year-old.
If Caitlin had been Kyle, would it have made a difference to you?
No, it wasn't gender. If it were Kyle, it still would have been wrong.
For her part, Caitlin Hunt rejected plea offers that would have let her avoid jail. She and her family insisting that she was the victim because of her sexual preference.
You know, I just think it's so wrong. I just want to do everything I can, everything I can to beat it. And to win and get her, have her life back, our lives back.
The Smiths say they want their lives back too. They say have been threatened in messaging phone calls like this one.
Your involvement in the prosecution of Caitlin Hunt means that I'm going to have to come and murder you.
They've been accused of being anti-gay.
But what if your daughter came to you and said, Mom, Dad, gay?
We've asked her that, and we've talked about it, and it's not really the issue for us. We've had the conversation, and I'm perfectly fine who she is.
She's our daughter. We're going to love her no matter what. We're going to love her till the day we die.
They told me today that they'd accept the daughter, whatever her sexuality might be. That's true?
No, I do not. I think that's a lie. I've always thought it was a gay issue for them.
And the time the young girl ran away wound up, as they would later discover, in the bedroom of Caitlin Hunt. The girl's parents say that was one of the worst days of their lives.
Lori, of all the things that we've talked about, your daughter going missing seems to be the thing that is most painful to you. Why?
I thought someone had come and taken her, and my only thought was, I should have been there. I'm supposed to take care of her. This is my baby.
But the Smith family had not heard the last of Caitlin Hunt. In spite of the judge's order forbidding any contact whatsoever, police say Caitlin had been exchanging text messages with the other girl, more than 20,000 texts, sending her nude and lewd photos and videos of herself, and most damning, there was intimate physical contact.
I wonder if you feel that you've made a mistake here.
I made a mistake.
Do you think you made a mistake? Did you do anything wrong?
I don't even know. I don't know how to answer that question, honestly. Do I think I made a mistake by dating someone in high school that I went to school and I played basketball with? No. I don't think I made a mistake.
Do you think you made a mistake by sending her 20,000 messages, including nude pictures of yourself?
Yeah, I think that was a mistake.
Why do you think that happened?
I think it goes back to having, two teenagers who think or are in love.
But you kept up the contact, even though you shouldn't. Why?
I needed closure. I felt like I had none when that first happened. I was forced to stop talking and forced to stop dating, and I just got wrapped up.
20,000 text messages. Nude pictures. Videos.
I think Caitlin Hunt forced our daughter to stay in this relationship when our daughter didn't want to be in this relationship.
The judge ordered Hunt to wait out the rest of her time before trial in the county jail. The girl who dreamed of being a songbird, she now finds herself growing older as a jailbird. Her hard times obvious during our interview with her parents when Caitlin called from lockup.
Okay, relax. Relax. Tell me what's going on. It's okay, calm down. I know, calm down, honey. Calm down.
Kelly Hunt's Caitlin was upset. Fellow inmates were harassing her. The parents tried to put on a brave face for their daughter, but afterward can't hide their pain.
Sorry. I don't think anybody can imagine what you're going through.
You can't. I mean, you just can't really describe it. It's so horrible. She's just a little kid, you know.
When you think of Caitlin, do you think of her as a kid, like your daughter, or do you think of her as an adult?
I honestly think of her as a child. I think that if she was an adult and she thought like an adult, then this would not have happened.
Do you think she loved you?
It's hard to say now, after all this came out and stuff, but I believe she did at the time before I got in trouble.
Do you love her now?
I love her, you know, as a person. I don't think I could ever be with her again.
Should it be legal for someone who is 18, regardless of sex, and someone who is 14?
It's a tough question, and I don't know if there's a right answer. What I know is that 2 teenage girls in high school that consent to a relationship, they should be felons for it.
I mean, I never really got educated on dating laws or, you know, the age differences and stuff like that.
Would you raise your hand, please? You swear from the testimony about the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
In the end, there would be no trial for Caitlin Hunt. She agreed to a plea deal that will set her free in 2 months. A gift for her sick family. Although there will be 2 long years of house arrest, followed by probation.
As long as I'm home with my family, I get to see everybody every day, and then I think I'll be